Hey everyone, so for about the past 2 months or so, I've been doing a reread of like literally every single Rick Riordan book. And by reread, I mean I'm listening to the books because I hate reading now. Okay, I kind of misspoke. I don't hate reading, but it just takes me super long to read. And listening to audiobooks goes way quicker, so I just try and listen to the audiobooks now. It's way better. Like if you're not into audiobooks, you need to get into them right now. But that's not the point of this video, okay? So I've been re-listening to all of Rick Riordan's books. I started with Percy Jackson. I listened through them all, and then I wanted Heroes of Olympus. And when I was reading The Lost Hero, I'm on the House of Hades right now, but when I was reading The Lost Hero, I realized something that happens near the end of that book that I'd never realized before. So let's skip forward to the Sun of Neptune really quick. We all know that in the Sun of Neptune, during the War Games, Gwen, no last name, gets speared and she dies. But since the doors of death are opened by Gia, or Gaia, however you want to say that name, since the doors of death are opened, she just like walks through a door and she comes back to life. Which is a pretty crazy scene because like it's the War Games. It's not like people aren't supposed to die, but then somebody dies, but then she comes back to life. So it's pretty handy. It's pretty neat. So think about that as I tell you this next part. During the Lost Hero, we know that in the final fight at the Wolf House, Hera unleashes her power like death unleash through Hera's rage is the line in the prophecy. And when she gets out of the cage, she unleashes her power and kills like all the monsters within the vicinity. And we know at this point the doors of death were already open. It was taking monsters longer to reform, but the doors of death were already open because some of the monsters in the Lost Hero were reforming during that book. But we know the events of the Lost Hero happened like 8 or 9 months before the Sun of Neptune. So the doors of death, like it probably was harder for the monsters to come back through, but they still came back through the doors of death at that point. So at the end of the book, when Hera like unleashes her rage and she turns into her full godly form, Jason Grace looks at her. He doesn't look away, even though he gets warned to look away. And then like in the book, it plays it off as like he faints or like he's knocked unconscious, but then he comes back. Like it never says that he dies. But guys, my theory is that I think Jason Grace dies in this moment. I think that when Jason Grace looked up on the full power of Hera unleashing her godly form, he died. But then when he was in the underworld, he saw the doors of death were open, just like Gwen, and he went through them and came back. Add on to that fact, Piper is talking to his like dead body during this time. She's talking to him, and I think she doesn't realize she's using charm speak, but I think her charm speak helped him come back to life. I don't remember what she says, but she's saying, stuff like, Jason, come back, or like, don't leave me, stuff like that. I think she charm spoke him into coming back to life. It wasn't all Piper, but it was partly Piper charm speaking, partly Jason just seeing the doors and coming back through. Now, the only difference between Gwen and Jason is Gwen remembers seeing the doors when she was dead and coming back through. Jason doesn't remember that. So I don't know why Jason wouldn't remember that, but who knows? And maybe I'm just being stupid. Maybe this is a common known fact, but I've never thought about this theory before. So let me know in the comment section what you think. I think it's a pretty cool theory of Jason coming back to life, but then of course, spoilers, he dies anyway. But it's still pretty cool how he died and came back to life, and he was able to come back to life. Probably. It's a theory, but because the doors of death were open. He would have died a lot sooner if the doors of death were not open.